What's going on? It's the RapNerd, and I'm back with another car conversation. You know, I typically run errands, so it's kind of a way for me to talk freely and let my thoughts flow, because when I'm driving, I'm always thinking about stuff in general. So there's just a little bit of backstory for these type of videos for the new subscribers, because I have a lot. Thank y'all for showing up. But I wanted to talk about Scream 7 again, in this clip that's been flying around from Anna Camp, who, spoiler alert, plays one of the killers in Scream 7.
I played it just as who Jessica was as a person, and kind of like as an actor, I have to fill like what it means for the person to be, you know, obsessed with Sidney Prescott. And I even played it as if I was in love with her. And it didn't quite like the maybe the lines weren't there, but I had to come into that scene with it so emotionally filled, with things that I had to create on my own, because there was really nothing there in the script for me to draw on, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that scene had to be so, I had to come up with backstory. I had to come up with why I loved her, why I was obsessed with her. And this is all on my own in my hotel room. Wow. Because the scenes beforehand didn't do anything. Didn't inform the character at all, really. And I even remember reading the script. They made me go into an office building in Beverly Hills to read it in a closed room, like by myself. And I remember one of the producers came out and he just said, you know, I kind of want to know what you think. And there were less scenes that you saw in the movie in the script draft. And I remember saying, so I'm going to put my producer hat on here. I'm not an actor who wants more to do. As a producer, you need to add something, because right now this character is just coming in and being a mom, and then I didn't show up until the very last scene. And so I said, I think she needs one more scene. And the scene that they ended up adding was just the scene with Courtney in front of the house.
Wow.
And it wasn't necessarily what I had pictured, right? Like I was hoping for some sort of scene that gave a little more backstory for my character, a little more depth, a little more coloring as to like how she felt about her son, how she felt about anything, you know, truly, really. But, you know, at the end of the day, like I couldn't keep pressing them to change the script because I wasn't a producer on the film. I was an actor that they hired. And so at that point, I just had to start justifying things and filling things in on my own in order to make that scene resonate and feel like the scene it needed to feel. And I also added the line in the end about me not liking my son. So that wasn't in the script. When I say he was too much like his father, he had to go, he had to die, I didn't mention my son at all in the draft that I read in that scene. And I was like, we have to address the fact that my son Lucas is now dead. Like I have to have a line about it. So they listened to me there too, which was great. But I think I learned an even more valuable lesson is to like, I have to keep fighting, you know, for these scenes that are ultimately going to make the movie better as a whole in the end.
Yeah.
But I tried my best.
It's almost baffling to hear her say this, especially while the movie is still in theaters. And it's freshly in theaters. It's not like it's been there for a good month. It's only been about 2 weeks since Scream 7 first released. So to hear her spill the beans so early about what's going on is kind of crazy, but I'm actually liking it, because I hope that this is going to put some fire under the asses of the writers of Scream 7, because since I've seen that movie, I've just been thinking about it so much. Like, did I miss something here? Like, were there things hinted at that she was the killer? Because I've only seen it one time. I was going to see it another time, but I haven't got around to it just because I love Scream. And as a slasher, I still find a lot of enjoyment in the film, despite it being, to me, the worst Scream movie of all of them. But I'm sitting here thinking like, yo, did I miss something? Because, bro, it doesn't make any type of sense with connectivity as to like how any finger was pointed towards her for being the killer. It just didn't make sense to me. And I'm just like floored at the fact that this was so poorly written. And I really hope for Scream 8 we do something better. I don't know how the writer for this movie didn't even care to look at how the actual formula of the films work. That's insane to me, dog. Like, it's baffling, to say the least, that you make a Scream movie and you have typically no connections to anything besides just trying to rehash Scream 4 and connect that movie like 5 and 6 didn't happen. Like, it's bizarre. A movie that's known for its clever writing chose to ditch the clever writing. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And I think the whole movie could have just been saved had there been better writing. Like, it's just that simple. Like, a lot of the stuff in the movie could have been excused had the reveal made sense. Hell, I would have preferred zombified Stumacher coming back than the shit that they pulled here. Like, it's already bad enough that the quote-unquote psych ward guard was part of it, which he made no sense because he has no connection to shit. Hate that choice to make him, of all people, be the character that's one of the killers. But it's more of a disappointment because I think Anna is actually a really good actor. I recently saw her in this TV show called Hysteria, and I thought that she was great in the show. And she was one of the villains of that show, and I feel like the way she talks about, you know, her character in this interview was so interesting because she plays it in a way that, like, I think could have actually worked had they given this character more time to develop it. Like, she says that her approach, and this was her approach, she said she wasn't told any of this by the writers, but her whole approach was she's kind of in love with Sydney, and this is her sick, sadistic way of showing it. And I was like, oh, that explains a lot in regards to her reveal. Like, for those who thought it was stupid, right? Just put your mind back into like that last scene and think of it from that standpoint. She said it was more like a love affair in a sense that she wanted to like be Sydney because of how much she loved her, which is a different twist on 4, because my whole gripe about 7 was that they just rehashed Jill's motivation. You know, Jill wanted the clout. She wanted to be Sydney for her own, you know, fame and all of that. Whereas here, she was saying like, no, it's kind of like I love her, and this is more of a story of, you know, not to, you know, I have to draw the parallel here. It's sad, but kind of like how Selena was, and this is how Selena passed, and that was more of what she was going for here, being a crazed fan that just was so in love with Sydney that like wanted to make her daughter the new Sydney so that she could have Sydney to herself on some sick ass, let's go out together as one, and, you know, I kill you and kill myself. And I was like, that would have been way better. Why not show that in the movie? Because you never get the sense of the mom being like in love like that with Sydney as from like a fan perspective. And I think that actually would have been a good way, especially if you could have somehow tied it to the rest of the movies and not skipped over that completely. I think if you're gonna focus on Sydney, you need to flesh that out. And the fact that they didn't even think of that, they just was like, oh, we're gonna bring Sydney, and this movie pretty much is just a homecoming for Sydney. And I'm like, that's cool, but it's not cool at the same time. We've done that shit literally 5 different times, bro. The first 4 films are about Sydney. Let's go somewhere else. Again, I still stand on the fact that if this movie would have been more focused on Tatum and her people, and then you intertwine the mom there, where the mom is kind of acting weird towards Tatum, trying to get to know more about her, you know, Sydney, and Sydney's not in it as much, and you just, you know, around Tatum, it would have been a great movie because that angle is good. The final girl having a daughter opens a whole lot of doors, and I feel like with the way they handle Scream 7, you can't even really properly like do that anymore, because it's like you just had a whole movie focused on Sydney. So are we all of a sudden just gonna switch, you know, gears, and now it's on Tatum and Sydney's not gonna be there? We know that she's been there, so how are you gonna explain her not being around? You know, so it's just really crazy to me that an actor in the movie had to fight to make the movie better, which she didn't, because she didn't get enough scenes, and she was saying the scene that she wanted to be added in to the movie wasn't even the one that she requested. So, boy, if this is how Scream is going to be moving from, you know, this point on, the franchise is pretty much turned into like just fun slashers now. because this movie being such a high-grossing movie, it's clear that, I guess, a lot of fans just care about the surface level shit with Scream. I never thought that. I thought Scream fans loved the witty writing and, you know, the meta play on the genre and that type of thing, opposed to just being a typical slasher, because that's all this movie is. Again, I don't think it's horrible. I like it. I just pre-ordered the Steelbook and I will watch it, but it's not what Scream as a franchise is. Scream has always been more than just a typical run-of-the-mill slasher, and it's a shame that we have now come to a place where that's what Scream is. I know Scream 5 and 6 gets a lot of hate, but I love both of those because of the DNA of which they are made up of. They still feel like Scream movies. This one, to me, is the only one of the bunch that does not feel like a Scream movie. It just feels like a slasher. Like if you were to change the names of everybody, switch Ghostface's outfit for somebody else, it wouldn't change the movie. And to me, that's a problem. It's really a problem, you know what I mean? So I just want to talk about that right quick because I found it to be baffling, and it also is confirmation that the writing was really poor. And usually I don't double down on stuff that I don't have the best to say about, but Scream is literally one of my favorite franchises. The first movie is top 4 of all time for me personally, and I just have to let the passion flow and send a message, because you don't know who sees these, videos on YouTube. It could be a producer or a writer who sees this type of stuff, and I just want to send a message to them to say, make this Scream franchise what it was again. Put thought and care into the writing, because at the end of the day, that's what matters, and that's what makes this franchise what it is. All the other shit is an add-on, but the witty writing is what makes Scream exactly what it is. All right, so Scream 8, I want to see something better. I'm gonna be there to purchase my tickets, but we got to get the writing under control and make sure all of the, I's are dotted and T's crossed, so when the reveal does happen, it makes some sort of sense, unlike how it did here. So let me know in the comments what you thought. Did you like Scream 7 how it was, or do you have your own ways that it could have been better? And of course, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you already are subscribed, thank you. I appreciate it greatly, and until next time, peace.
RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.